everyone, and welcome back to our series where we discuss the latest and greatest in smart building technology and indoor mapping. If you're new here, my name is Morgan, and I'm the U.S. Field Marketing Manager here at MapsPeople. Today, I'm joined with our guests, Jeff and Charles.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff Wakefield, Solutions Engineer here at MapsPeople, and I'm happy to be on for this conversation today. It should be great talking about smart buildings.
Hi, everybody. I'm Charles Barrow, Regional Sales Director here with MapsPeople. Been here for a little bit close to a year, and I specifically work with our direct customers who ingest our mapping solution for any myriad of use cases.
The topic for this discussion is IoT. IoT is a common word that a lot of people use, but when we think about IoT in the context of smart buildings, what exactly does that mean?
I'll field this one first because it's kind of interesting how almost overused the idea of IoT is, and it can fit into all sorts of different buckets. But when I'm talking with folks who are responsible for their buildings, they could be facilities managers, they could be security. There's all sorts of folks who are, who need technology. One of the things that I hear from them a lot is that their buildings have personalities. Their buildings are living, breathing entities, and the concept of bringing in IoT devices actually allows them to understand the personas of their building. They can understand what's happening inside the building. They can understand what's happening around the building. They can understand the traffic flow of the humans that come in and out of the building, and kind of how that affects how they should be using that building and how the health of that building can be graded. So to go back to, I guess, to put a pin in the question, it's that for the idea of IoT, it's quite simply, how can I use technology to track data about my building that allows me to understand its life cycle?
And to me, like a different take on IoT and what that means in buildings. I mean, like, this is a wide range of how we explore and we look at buildings, right? Through the lens of devices and data. It's funny, like I'm setting up some IoT devices in my home. I was just working on that before this call. And like the space and the usage is all dependent on like what we're trying to get out of it. If I have a problem with not being able to find an available conference room in a company, like we could use devices to gather data to tell us where the best time to meet would be or when. Or if I want to know like what conference room is best for me or what area in the office to sit because I run a little hot and I need to sit under an AC, I could use data to help me solve a problem, whether that's a tiny problem like turning on a light when the dog is at the doggy door, for a home use case, or like hey, we need to build more conference rooms or we get a bigger office and here's the data that supports that. And so all the devices that we can get data from and use to solve those problems are really cool and a big part of IoT in a smart building, in the office, whether that's office space, manufacturing space, everything in between.
Jeff brings up a pretty good point about solving problems, because the fun thing about bringing in all the data sets is that in addition to, say, solving a problem, i.e., let's make sure that I can track if there's a leak in the building and then solve that problem, but also then how can I create an opportunity? And Jeff alluded to the idea of conference rooms. If I know that I'm going to need to have a conference room with a large smart board, and I'm going to need to have at least 6 chairs in there, and I'm going to have one colleague who just quite simply needs to have it at 67 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. If I could have devices in the room to let me know all of that exists, I know how to book the right room, give everyone the best experience, and be able to collaborate at likely a higher level because we're all in a comfort zone.
And like adding on to that, one of the things that I experienced at a company that had about 1,000 people was trying to find just a conference room in a part of the office or a different building that you just weren't used to being in. Knowing what was free and what was available, I guess this is where maps come into play too, would have saved me a lot of like foot traffic going around and saying, is this room taken? Is that room taken? Only to sit down and like realize, oh, I couldn't really book this room, or I'm crashing someone else's meeting. When you're solving problems that have like tied to revenue, and you need to meet with a team and like you need to meet right now, trying to go through all the shenanigans of like booking a room through an email application or something that you can't really see what room is even close to you does make it hard. It also makes it fun to say, oh, someone is crashing my room. There's already someone sitting in there. I sure hope they're there for my meeting and not for someone else's.
That's all really great information. And I know you guys already talked a lot about the different use cases for IoT and how it works with maps. But do you have any specifics that you could share on how your customers use IoT data in their solution?
Yeah, the workplace examples that we've been using is a very, very, very common use case. It's the workplace experience. It's the employee experience. It's the way that the users embed the mapping solution inside their workplace management systems, and then integrate all these other IoT devices to bring data and populate that data on the map so that it can be visualized on the map. So yes, that's definitely one of the main use cases. Jeff and I also get into a lot of conversations with manufacturers, and knowing that he comes from the manufacturing world, I won't steal any of that thunder. Actually, Jeff, I think you probably got a couple of really good ones for the audience here.
Yeah, I mean, like some of the use cases in manufacturing could be as simple as, is there a person standing at the workstation that's critical to the operation, right? How many people are in the places that we want people to be? Tying into other data from other systems and using that with IoT data, maybe data from like a ERP system, enterprise resource planning, knowing where things are in the production, where they should be, and just making sure that like things are getting done on time. Another big one, and I'm sure we'll touch on it more throughout this discussion, is like asset tagging and seeing the position of something where it is right now in time. And I can't tell you how many steps I've walked over a manufacturing floor, 30 to 40,000 steps a day, just looking for things in a lot of cases. And if I would have known where those things were, it would have helped me a ton. In fact, one of the projects I took on prior to COVID, before that just kind of deprioritized everything, was getting a map of our facility and putting asset tags on some material handling equipment, because we needed to know if it was going to show up to our production line at the right time with the right quantity of things. And having that data would have saved us thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. People would be looking for something or wanting to know where something is. They didn't have any visibility outside of their part of the factory. They'd leave their workstation because they have no data or information about what's going on. As they left, someone would come and bring the materials, but no work would get done at their workstation. When you have to produce something once every 5 minutes, leaving for 5 minutes on a really, expensive product costs you money. That's one less thing you get to pay to make today, or that's 5 minutes of overtime you're paying someone now. And it adds up when that happens repeatedly every day, every week, every month, every year.
One of the other fun use cases that when you think about the experience of a person within a venue, Jeff and I have also had a lot of conversations with some of our, we'll call them venue operators. They could be sports teams, it could be a convention center operator. It's really kind of unique, Morgan, because what we're hearing is they're using IoT devices to gather data that allows for a frictionless experience in, say, a stadium. So being able to get from my couch to the parking lot to my seat to then know the shortest line for the bathroom that I need to go to en route to grabbing an adult beverage or a soda pop, or just being able to know for sure that I can get where I need to be in the least time possible so that I can get back to my seat. Even having a sensor device that allows for the ability to track a bathroom line, it just enhances a user experience. Now in their case, the customer is using that as a way to increase vendor sales. So there's an added benefit to it in addition to the employer, to the fan experience. But then you think about things like large convention centers where there's maybe say 1,000, 2,000 people, and I've already mapped out, no pun intended, but I've already sort of planned out my day of what breakout rooms I want to go to based on the content that's going to be delivered to there. And same thing, I need to know, hey, can I actually get through the line at the Starbucks on the 3rd floor? Can I make it to the restroom? And is the line, is the line short up there? Is it the cleanest restroom in the building? Maybe there's some sensor devices that are letting us know how recently it was most serviced. So just going back to the experience, yes, we see it in corporate offices, we see it in manufacturing, plus the idea of efficiencies. We see it in venue management. So just a lot of other fun use cases out there.
And you bring up a good point, Charles, about knowing what things have been occupied, how much use something has had. We've had some of our customers tell us that they use data like that for planning their cleaning crews, and that they're able to save cost on cleaning because they just don't clean everything. They clean the things that have exceeded a certain number of usage threshold or a certain amount of traffic. If you're only cleaning the rooms that have been used, That's less cleaning team that you might need to have, and or less cleaning that you're paying for. You might be able to get better cleaning in the other places, right? And we're worried about germs. Maybe it's flu season, cold season. You're going to see some secondary, tertiary benefits to that savings with the health and safety of your employees. Another thing that we've seen as well is if I have occupancy data and I know how long certain meetings run, I could see that Charles always has a meeting that goes over 15 minutes when I'm going to book a room, if I'm collecting that data. And I could plan accordingly if I'm the person who wants to book that meeting room after him. So if I know that, I'm able to say, great, like this meeting, the meetings in this room tend to run 15 minutes long. Great, I'll start my meeting quarter past instead of on the hour. That way, I'm changing behaviors. I'm not frustrated waiting outside. I'm going to heads down working on something else until that time. And now I've saved 15 minutes for 5, 10, 15 people that are here at that meeting, peeking our head in and preventing, what would be good work if Charles is leading it from getting that work done.